Hello and welcome today to the Istres base, where we have the honor and the chance to meet Colonel Steve Connell. Hello, you are the base commander, is that right?
I am the commander of the base at Istres.
You are a fighter pilot.
I am a Mirage 2000D fighter pilot. Before that, a Mirage F1 pilot. So it's quite unusual to have a fighter pilot commanding an airbase for tanker aircraft, but it suits me just fine.
Well, the base is incredible. It's already the largest base in France.
That's right, absolutely. It's the largest base in France. To give you some numbers, it's a quarter the size of Paris. It's gigantic, 2,500 hectares. There are 5,000 people working on the site, but that doesn't mean 5,000 military personnel. We also have industrial workers, people from other entities, and military personnel from all branches. By the way,
there are sailors here.
We have a detachment from the French Navy conducting tests on the Rafale, Marine Sea.
The DGA flight tests?
That's pretty much it, yes, absolutely.
The base, it's actually quite complex because there's an accumulation of different functions, different units, and therefore different equipment. First of all, what are the main missions carried out by the units?
So the first mission is the one that drives everything. Here it's nuclear deterrence. We're an airbase with a nuclear purpose. That means we implement deterrence on a daily basis for the permanent airborne nuclear component, which is carried out by the strategic air forces. And so that means we maintain an alert, the deterrence posture. We stay on alert 24/7, 365 days a year. As I'm speaking to you, we have assets that are on alert, and that's the first mission and obviously the priority. Then we have the second mission, which is operations through the Armed Forces Hub you may have heard about, with missions taking off every day to all corners of the world to transport our military personnel to operational theaters or to sites in our overseas territories, where we regularly have rotations of military personnel being relieved and sometimes even crew changes for the Navy on very long missions at certain stopovers. And so many soldiers leave from here or return here.
But is there a reason why we've deployed all these large, big planes here? Because in my time, STRL was at Roissy, it was much more spread out with different types of planes and different bases. Istres is particularly strategic.
Yes, so it's a real choice, well thought out and considered. What you need to know is that, as you said, at the time we operated military aircraft from the civilian airport at Roissy, which created a whole lot of problems, meaning there were a lot of military personnel, sometimes in uniform, in a civilian airport. With the risks we know about, and even the lack of confidentiality, it was also very costly. We paid a huge amount in ground handling fees. It was several million euros per year that we paid to be able to operate from this civilian airport. I would add that when there was an air traffic controller's strike, we were completely tied up, and it caused disruptions, and it could have blocked our operations. So that's absolutely unacceptable for an army that needs to be resilient, obviously, and fully sovereign. So this choice to use a strategic military platform with military resources gives us real autonomy. In the end, it saves us ground handling costs. And so the investments that have been made here are quickly paid off, since we operate independently with our own resources.
Not to mention that we also have a fleet of aircraft instead of having 3 different types of planes, with the 310, 340 and C-135.
Absolutely, we used to have a lot of planes, and you can see that the current trend is to streamline the fleets, to say that we'll have only Rafales in the long run, because you train Rafale pilots, you have a training center, you train mechanics. It's the same thing when you set up the logistics around all that. It's one logistics chain, not 2 or 3. And once again, it's about efficiency and reduced costs, so it's particularly interesting for us. And last but not least, the final mission is to prepare for the future. That means here we have the General Directorate for Armament Flight Testing Division, which conducts a lot of tests and development for the future standards of the Rafale, for the future capabilities of the armed forces, mainly in the aeronautical field, whether it's helicopters, planes, or even drones. And so there are a lot of activities and tests, and you can understand that it's quite natural that we have our industrial partners nearby.
Thales and Dassault are both present for that reason.
Absolutely, Thales, Dassault. And I would add that Safran is present here with engine development activities that are quite unique in Europe. The activities we carry out here that our industrial partners carry out here are real gems. There aren't many sites in Europe where we carry out such activities to develop our future capabilities.
So I deduced that on the base, meaning we have the ASMPA, we actually have nuclear weapons stored here. This means there's an air defense system suited to that role. This base isn't like other bases.
So it's an air base with a nuclear purpose. That means there are a certain number of materials and equipment that contribute to the nuclear decision present on this base. Indeed, and obviously there is a protection system adapted to all of this, with a protection squadron in particular, which is the largest in France, the SAMP-T, etc. So we have the protection squadron, with people who guard the base's perimeter fence, and we have a surface-to-air defense squadron with SAMP-T systems. It's Crow-Tail and many other systems, including anti-drone measures that allow us to protect the facilities.
Can we talk specifically about the reason I'm here today? I'm lucky enough to board an A330 MRTT to take part in the exercise. Orion, so what does that change for you then?
Orion, in the end, it's just one more exercise, but it's a necessary training since it serves as a kind of stress test for our system, and it allows us to show that we are still able to operate. First entry missions, high-intensity missions, from the airbase, which is a combat tool for us since our missions take off from here. And so, on the aerial refueling side, it allows us to test our system. And so, for you, naturally, you say it's the crews who are training, but in reality, it's the entire airbase that's training. It's the controllers, it's the firefighters, it's the mechanics who prepare the equipment, the aircraft. And so, the whole chain, in the end, even the support chain, is mobilized so that the missions can take off on time, in good conditions, and test the system. I would add that it also allows us to continue training our young crews and to validate captain training in particular. And so, on the flight you were on, there was a young co-pilot who, during the mission, conducted a simulated escort exercise for fighters being diverted, breaking through to the airfield. First of all, this mission allowed him to validate and check off a requirement in his captain training. So, you see, we train our crews while we prepare for high-intensity conflict, so it's a stress test. And it's an important mission on top of everything else we do. So what's interesting is to see that we're carrying out this Orion mission. But we continue to maintain our alerts, so we have alert systems for territorial protection and deterrence that continue to operate. And we continue to carry out missions to the four corners of the world. At the same time, it's really a huge range of missions being carried out here.
I was surprised during landing and lucky to be in the cockpit. What are the runway's dimensions?
It's 5,000 meters. It's the largest runway in Europe. Back in the days of the space shuttle, this runway was an alternate landing site for the space shuttle. That's why in the 60s or 70s, I don't remember the exact date, the runway was extended, actually with a contribution from the Americans at the time, to help finance part of the work so that the runway could accommodate the space shuttle. Today, it makes a lot of people envious. There are many people knocking on the door to come use this runway which is gigantic, because especially for testing accelerate stop tests for large planes, it's very interesting. The Airbus A380 came to test its accelerate stop performance on the Istres runway.
You can't do rejected takeoffs on a 2,000-meter runway.
Oh yes.
All right, so even civilians are allowed to come and do occasional tests here?
Civilians do it as part of the certification of their aircraft, which is done with the DGA flight tests. And so all of this is done within protocols that are quite well defined.
You can discuss the prototypes being tested, including drones and the Rafale F5.
So the Rafale F5 is in the development phase. We're not in the testing phase yet. Currently, most of it is happening in the design offices. On the other hand, the Rafale standards that are currently being brought into service with the armed forces, I'm thinking especially of the F4.2 standard, are being tested and developed here. Absolutely, and so regularly, not all the time, but regularly, we have aircraft with the new standard coming here. Absolutely.
We won't go into details because we're not allowed to, but just know that the future is being prepared here.
Not just here. We also have flight test sites at Cazaux, as you probably know, but here is also a major center for flight testing.
Are you recruiting reservists?
Yes, we're recruiting heavily. As the largest base in France, we're a major employer and the second largest employer in the southern region, with 5,000 employees. The ones who surpass us are Airbus helicopters, who are on the other side of the Étang de Berre, where they have more than 12,000 people on site. For us, it's 5,000 workers, and with 5,000 workers, that means a lot of recruiting. Just talking about the aviation side that concerns me, we recruit close to 300 people every year. So for all specialties, the people I recruit locally, meaning enlisted personnel, it's about a good 100, so that's still quite a lot of positions. So we have openings, we do recruitment events. We'll do another soon, probably in April. We bring in young people, we show them our professions. We're also present in the region in schools to show them our jobs and help them discover all of this. And then the reserve is growing in strength. As you said, we're going to train 100 reservists this year. We're starting a training session next week. We have about 20 young people coming for 2 weeks to train, to get ready to use pistols, weapons, protect the site, and so on. Learn the military basics, which is working well. More young people are knocking on our door, and we have a pretty ambitious goal for 2030 to reach 600 reservists. On the base, we currently have just over 300. So, you see, we're really going to double that, and we're going to make it. We're going to make it. I have no doubt about that because it's working well. We've gotten ourselves ready for that. Thomas Pesquet is also in the reserves.
That's what I was going to say. And so,
he's a great ambassador, too.
But alongside the reserve, the President of the Republic also mentioned the return of national service. Voluntary. The word voluntary is really emphasized. Are you involved in this as well?
Absolutely. So you know that the Air and Space Force will recruit 600 young people in 2026. So this year for us, there are 40 positions specifically available in Istres for young people who want to have a somewhat extraordinary experience within the armed forces. And so I invite young people who want to join us to visit the website deveniraviator.fr and discover the opportunities we have here in all fields: communication, aircraft operations, air transport. Because here we're kind of a military airport hub, so we have jobs in air transport. So all these young people who are going to come, we're going to give them a unique experience specifically in carrying out air operations. So I invite you to join us. We have some great positions available for a gap year, since these young people can join us for just 10 months.
And don't wait, because applications are open now to start at the end of the summer. So if you wait until June to think about it, it'll already be taken. Hurry up. You can apply directly here for specific local jobs, whether you're from the area or not, whether you're a refrigeration technician, truck driver, or athlete, there's always a place for you. And wherever you are, there are always bases near you. Give yourself a few years of happiness before entering the boring civilian working life, which I experienced later on, though mine wasn't that boring. That way, at least, you make sure you've had a few good years. So, Alain, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you very soon.